So like and subscribe if you want to. The Clippers signed Serge Ibaka. I'm going to assume it's with their mid-level. We'll see how long of a contract it is. I guess the first question I have is Ibaka going to keep on just being a full-time center? Because that is when he has been really good the past couple seasons. When you put him at power forward, I don't know if he can hold up as well defensively. Granted, he might be a good enough shooter to play power forward a little bit more often at this point, but I think we'd all agree at center is where he's at his best. So is he just going to be splitting minutes with Zubac? I mean, the Clippers, of course, went with the Zubac for 18 minutes, Montrez for 30, and potentially more the last couple of years. So maybe it'll be a similar thing with Ibaka. We're going to have to see. But I think Zubac is deserving of more minutes. So it'll be interesting just how Ty Lue plays all of that out. I mean, could we see Ibaka and Zubac out there together? I guess it's a possibility. Again, Ibaka's shooting could help that out. But I just don't know if defensively against power forwards, Ibaka could be as good. But at the same time, you can also look at that as Ibaka and Zubac together. That can beef up the rim protection quite a bit. And if the team that you're facing doesn't have a good shooting wing and you can put Ibaka on that guy and you can load up the basket with those two dudes defensively to go along with PG and Kawhi, then that could be pretty good. Ibaka is definitely a better defensive player than Montrez, no doubt about that. And he's a better three-point shooter. He's not the inside scorer that Montrez is or was for the Clippers. But Ibaka can still do some things there. I think he can certainly run pick and roll and pick and pop with PG, Kawhi, Lou, Pat Bev, although Pat Bev is the least threatening of all those guys. And Ibaka can, of course, be a threat from outside. I mean, you think about a lineup where it's Kawhi, PG, Lou Will, Patrick Beverly, and Ibaka at center. There's a lot of shooting there. I mean, you're probably going to leave Pat Bev open as the one guy, but that right there does sound pretty difficult to deal with. I mean, if you've got Kawhi doing his ISOs and his pull-up mid-rangers and all that, and PG kind of a similar thing, then you really might be able to go 5 out. And even if you need Ibaka to chill around the dunker spot, he can still do a pretty good job there. So from an offensive standpoint, I think this does make quite a bit of sense for the Clippers. The only fear is that Ibaka's shooting is not real. Of course, he was an awesome shooter this previous season, and he terrified me in the round 2 series against the Celtics. I thought he should have been playing more, to be honest, because whenever the Raptors ran pick and pops on him, the Celtics didn't have too many answers, and I think the Clippers could potentially have a similar thing against a lot of teams in the West. I mean, this previous season, Ibaka 38% on 3 threes a game, but then 2 years ago, he was down to 29%. But for most of his career, the past 5-6 years, Ibaka has been good from 3. His mid-range has been very good for most of his career as well. So I think he's going to be able to play in screens with a lot of the Clippers guys. And it could help some of the Clippers' lack of ball movement at times, because with a guy like Montrez, it was like, well, when he sets a screen, he's going to roll. There's not much else he can do like that. Whereas with Ibaka, he just gives them a little bit more variety. Although I am still a little fearful when it comes to Ibaka's lack of playmaking skill. Like, I feel like he can help everybody else with the playmaking just because of his spacing and screen setting. But if he's the one who's forced to make the pass, it could get a little dicey. If we talk about defensively, Ibaka is definitely better than Montrez. So if we think about a Denver series again, I would give Ibaka a better chance of guarding Jokic in the post and, really just guarding any Western Conference team you want to pick. I would give Ibaka a pretty okay chance of defending AD if it comes to that. I mean, I would still give the edge to Anthony Davis, of course, as I would with Jokic against Ibaka, but I think the Clippers have given themselves a better chance with this move of guarding just big players. I mean, you, of course, are going to need size to try to slow down LeBron when he's driving. Can Ibaka switch onto LeBron? I mean, no, but I think he's better equipped to sometimes slow down LeBron in that setting than other bigs around the league, so that's cool, I guess. I did mention maybe the shooting isn't real. I guess the only other fear, offensively at least, is if Ibaka's lack of playmaking will really hurt the Clippers. He's gotten a little better at it, but there are still times where if you trap the guy that he's setting a screen for, Ibaka's just not going to do anything off the dribble. But if he's playing center, which this is part of the reason why Nick Nurse moved him to center and it's been successful, is if he's playing the 5 spot, then the spacing is so good around him that even he can make the right pass or at least give you a couple dribbles to somebody and then they can cut to the basket or whatever. So I think there's a lot of potential for this to go well. And when I think about how Ibaka matches up against other teams, I mean, I've already talked about his chances on AD and Jokic. Can he defend Nurkic in the post? I feel like he can. Could he defend Christian Wood? I'll eventually do a video on Christian Wood to Houston. I would say so, although Christian Wood might have so much mobility stretching out to the 3-point line. Maybe Ibaka would have a little bit tougher of a time with that one. Granted, though, all those things can be said about Davis and Jokic as well. So when I say he has a chance to guard those guys, I more so mean out of the post. Like if AD is going to go off the dribble, if Jokic is going to go off the dribble, if Jokic and Murray start getting their 2-man game going, Ibaka can certainly have trouble. But even so, I think the combination of everything he does, I still like this signing for the Clippers. I think this is a pretty good way to recover off of losing Montrezl Harrell. And if anything, if what Montrez is closer to what we saw against Denver, more so in the playoffs than the regular season, then this could be a huge upgrade for the Clippers. Not just a fallback option, but an improvement. I mean, hell, if I'm going to go by Montrez's round 2 series versus Ibaka's round 2 series, then this is definitely an upgrade. So, yeah, consider me pretty pro Ibaka on the Clippers. Granted, there has been proof that I'm a bit of a Clippers hater, but I can't doubt that this is a good move, and I think this definitely helps him out. But I will say once again, if there's going to be something to get freaked out about, it's the fact that Ibaka's not a good passer, even if he might be a little better than he used to be. And for the Clippers' sake, they do still need some passing, and they missed out on Rondo, and there's been rumors about Terry Rozier. We'll see if they pull off a move for him, but that would be the only thing. But I think Ibaka, the spacing he gives them, the post defense, the pick and roll defense, he's not as good of a rim protector as he once was, but I think he does a pretty good job of still altering shots, even if he's not coming out of nowhere to block shots as much. And yeah, I think it's a solid move. I think the Clippers did pretty okay with this one. And I think now it's going to be interesting just to see how much of Ibaka's out there, how much of Zubac, are they playing together that much? But they have 2 good defensive bigs, which you couldn't always say with Montrez. The advanced stats suggested that he was never really helping the Clippers out defensively. I would expect that stuff to shift a little bit with Ibaka. So, yeah, I think Ibaka, since moving to center, I think Ibaka has once again become a really good 2-way player, and the Clippers got him, so it's a good move.